The Colosseum, the largest Roman amphitheatre ever built, one of the greatest masterpieces of Roman architecture, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of the most significant tourist attractions in Europe and a symbol of Rome and Italy, has a dark and bloody history considering the purpose for which it was constructed. Equally dark and bloody, however, are the origins of this famous structure. The amphitheatre was built on the blood sacrifice of hundreds of thousands of people, and its construction was financed by plundered treasures obtained as the Roman army under the leadership of emperors Vespasianus and Titus devastated an entire nation. It was the year AD 66, and the people of Judea were growing weary of the oppressive rule of the Roman governors. These rulers governed with little regard for local customs, imposed an unbearable tax burden, and often lined their own pockets with the revenues rather than investing in the welfare of the province. Discontent simmered across all social strata, and calls for rebellion came not only from the common folk, but also from some members of the upper classes. Clashes with Roman soldiers became more frequent, and chaos spread across the land like wildfire. Unfortunately, even among Jewish groups, there was hostility. The animosity between the more liberal Pharisees and the aristocratic traditional Sadducees was notorious. A prominent group whose primary goal was to fight against Roman domination was the Zealots, supported mainly by the common people. Using stealth attacks in crowds, they targeted not only Roman officials but also their Jewish opponents. Paradoxically, the threat of a Roman intervention brought the Jewish people together. This intervention, led by the Roman governor of Syria, Caestius Gallus, aimed to restore order. The Jews managed to repel the Roman forces in a decisive battle, and following this celebrated victory, the uprising gained near universal support across society. Rome, however, responded decisively. 3 Roman legions, accompanied by auxiliary troops, were dispatched to the region. The campaign was entrusted to a certain Flavius Vespasianus, who brought along his elder son Titus. By the year 67, the Romans had successfully pushed back the rebels. However, the campaign was delayed due to the suicide of Emperor Nero in 68 and the subsequent political crisis. Vespasianus himself joined the struggle for power, leaving the Jewish war in Titus's hands. The war dragged on for several bloody years, culminating in Titus's decision to lay siege to Jerusalem in AD 70. As we are informed by a contemporary witness, the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus in his work The Jewish War, the siege was particularly challenging as the city was heavily fortified. The Romans, however, after breaching the walls, advanced through the city with great determination and cruelty. Flavius Josephus reports that the slaughter was so relentless that the soldiers grew fatigued, forcing Titus to order them to kill only those who were armed and resisted. Despite this, the Roman soldiers also slaughtered the sick and elderly. The younger inhabitants were gathered in the temple courtyard, where were kept confined. Among them, the most handsome and robust were selected for the triumphal procession in Rome. Flavius Josephus describes how most of the remaining individuals over the age of 17 were sent to the mines of Egypt, while countless others met their end in arenas across the empire's provinces. The Romans demolished Jerusalem's walls and the temple, setting the city ablaze. They did not leave empty-handed, plundering the temple treasury and other valuables hidden within the city. During the grand triumphal procession of Vespasianus and Titus in Rome, these countless treasures were displayed, as depicted on the Arch of Titus, which still stands in the Roman Forum today. Meanwhile, as Titus was waging war in Judea, Vespasianus became emperor. Since the Roman treasury had been emptied by Nero's reckless rule, Emperor Vespasianus sought to restore its balance by increasing taxes and introducing new forms of taxation. The loot acquired through the suppression of the Jewish uprising was therefore a welcome additional source of revenue. To maintain the support of the Roman populace, Vespasianus used the funds to invest in large-scale construction projects within the city of Rome. Among these politically motivated initiatives was the ambitious plan to build an amphitheatre of unprecedented size on the grounds of Nero's palace complex. This move was presented as a gesture of returning the land confiscated by Nero after the Great Fire of Rome in AD 64 to the people. Construction, largely financed by the spoils of war, as noted in an inscription at the western entrance, began in AD 70. However, Vespasianus did not live to see the amphitheatre's grand opening. The inaugural games were held during the reign of his son, Emperor Titus, in AD 80. Under Emperor Domitianus, further modifications were made, including the addition of an underground infrastructure to accommodate gladiators and animals. The immense oval structure, originally named the Amphitheatrum Flavium after its builders, was funded by the war spoils taken from the defeated Jews and could hold up to 80,000 spectators, serving as a venue for spectacular events for the next 5 centuries. At the same time, it symbolized the power and strength with which the Romans ruled over the world, at least in an ideological sense. The Colosseum is not only a fascinating testament to Roman engineering, but also a witness to human cruelty, which accompanied it not only during its operation as a gladiatorial arena, but even before its construction. The combination of war spoils, imperial ambition, and the desire for popular support demonstrates how the Roman governing apparatus masterfully leveraged politics and architecture to consolidate its power. Today, however, the Colosseum carries a message about the importance of reflecting on the past, helping us to better understand the cost at which such grand symbols were created. Despite its bloody history, it remains a structure that inspires with its monumentality and reminds us of the complexity of human history.